Good morning, Redeemer. So we're back in the Old Testament in Genesis, looking at the life of Abraham. And in Genesis 15, verses 1 to 7, we find this encounter that God brings Abraham out into the open at night to examine the sky. And God gives Abraham a breathtaking promise of, now look at the stars in the sky, and that's what your nation is going to be like. Now the sky would have had the moon and the stars, and in a sense the moon would have represented Abraham's old life. The stars were going to represent his new life. Now there must have been some sort of temptation for Abraham to think, actually, maybe safer, and I've known worshipping the moon in my past, and it doesn't seem to be that bad. And this star thing, this is, I'm married, but I'm childless. I've got no inheritance. I've got nothing going for me, and yet God has put in front of me these stars. Which do I believe? And this is part of the process that God takes Abraham through. It was bound to bring back memories. So the question was, which was he going to choose? Had taught him to rely upon his possessions, although he learned quite a lot from when Lot departed. But God was trying to make him see, actually, look at the stars. And this is where he starts to learn faith. Abraham started to learn faith. And that's where, soon after this, God changes his name. Changed his name from Abram, which meant exalted father, to Abraham, father of many. I mean, that was some sort of, you could have considered it a cruel joke. But this is part of the journey that God was taking Abraham on. So his name change was a change of identity. Okay, Abraham, you're not just a father, you're a father of many. And now God has to work quite hard for some of us, for many of us, in fact probably for most of us, on our identity. Finding our identity in God rather than in the world. That's a huge challenge. It's a journey we go on for many years sometimes. And finding our way through that journey can be torturous at times. It can be tough. We can doubt. We can look at the moon and think, oh, maybe my old life was not that bad. But God says, look at the stars. And that's what is talking to us about. Now come on, guys, look for the stars. Now, go out one night. Last night, I don't know when you're going to watch this, but last night there was a full moon. And you look up into the sky and the first thing you're attracted to is the moon. It's quite bright. There's no clouds, but then if you wait, if you look around, then you begin to see the multitude of stars, millions upon millions. And that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to not live by what we can see, but live by faith. This is the journey that God takes Abraham on. And this is the journey that the Bible writers in the rest of the Bible, they're the aspects that they choose to center upon with Abraham. They don't look at his faults. If you read through Genesis from 12 to 22, you'll find Abraham was not without his faults. But the Bible chooses to center in upon Abraham's faith. And that's where God chooses to center in. We will all have faults. We will all have weaknesses, but God chooses to centre in our faith. That's an important message for us to learn.